What's up, guys, and welcome to Align Tell 'em. On this episode, we're going to be pretty much going through and Ask Me Anything so you guys can get to know a little bit more about me. And if you guys relate, comment, don't be afraid. We're trying to build a community here, so I encourage you guys to do that. But first, if you guys are listening on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, please do me a favor and subscribe so you guys stay up to date. If you're on YouTube, subscribe as well. And make sure to like and leave comments, because I actually I read all the comments, and sometimes I like to interact with you guys. So don't be afraid to leave a comment. And without further ado, let's get started.
All right, Align. So first question is, what's the biggest lesson you've learned in your 20s?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned in my 20s is that nobody really has it all figured out. When you grow up, you think, wow, like, either my parents or this role model or figure, like they have life figured out. I feel like I'm not doing everything I could be doing. And while it's good to self-reflect, I think once you get older, you realize, like, no one knows what the fuck is happening. Like, no one knows what's really going on. So it's like, I think you put a lot of unnecessary pressure on yourself to, like, be this great person. And in terms of, you should always try to be the best person you can be. I think once you put that pressure on you, I think you should be able to tell, like, hey, like, I'm trying my best. But you have to say, I'm actually doing my absolute best. I'm putting in all the work I could be doing. Like, I'm actively trying to be a good person. I'm actively trying to improve myself. Like, this is okay for me. I think way too often, especially growing up, you think, adults have it all figured out. And then as soon as you step into, you're 18, 19, going into college, you're like, damn, like, I feel like I'm a failure. Like, I feel like I'm, like a piece of shit. Like, and I think you just need to relax and just take it day by day, take it step by step, and you'll get the hang of it. There's a saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think that's especially true with, like, how you view yourself and always improving. So I think that would probably be the one of the biggest lessons. If I had to say another one, I would probably say that, and they're in a way they're kind of conflicting, but it's just it's super important. Or you know what? No, not even. If I had to name another one, I would say the importance of time management. Like, man, time management really could, like, it could make or break you, really. I'd say having a well thought out plan of how your day's gonna go. These are the things I need to do. This is the most important thing. One of the things I've learned is, like, prioritizing, like, the most important thing in the beginning of the day and knocking those things out first. It can really build momentum and build, like, a strong, I would say it could really help build momentum for you and keep you going. I think that'd be probably the biggest thing.
So do you think you will ever have it figured out? Or people in general?
I think people can, whatever their definition of figured out is, I think you can reach it. It's not just about going through the motions. It's about actively trying to be your best and trying to reach your potential. And the thing about reaching your potential is that if you're actively trying to reach your potential just grows even more. Because once you reach that, you're like, you know what? There's even more I can be doing. And then you just keep leveling up. And I think you never really hit your potential. Like, if anything, you just keep going, and it keeps escalating into a higher potential, or it keeps escalating into, and then you keep growing.
All right. Where do you get your motivation from?
Man, my motivation it comes from everywhere, man. Really, like, I look around. I'm a very observant person. I look at people who I'm around, and I look at, like, I also think about what's the kind of life I want to live, and what does that require? Because yes, I want to be successful. I want to, but I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day about like what is successful to us, right? Like what's like our definition of success. Excuse me. And I think my ultimate definition of success is to reach to be happy, but that takes work, you know. And I know happiness, you know, and especially when you're dealing with emotions, like there's a lot of highs and lows. So you're not always going to be that happy person. Like there's going to be peaks and valleys. And I think my ultimate goal is to, you know, be happy. And that also means be taken care of, right? So I need to put in work so I can make sure I don't have to worry about money. I don't have to stress about money. I don't have, you know, my family won't have to stress about money. That's like what keeps me going. And also like just getting the most out of this life. Like we're really only here for a limited amount of time, and like we're living on borrowed time, and I want to maximize it every moment, you know, to the best of my abilities, whether it's, you know, whether I'm working to get something done, I'm spending time with the people I love, or, you know, there's many sides to that of getting the most out of life. Getting the most out of life sometimes literally could be watching Netflix with your girlfriend, or, you know, or your family members, because in that moment you're spending valuable time with the person with the person or people that you love. So I feel like that's my biggest motivation, is just squeezing everything I can out of this life.
Okay, so the next question would be, what do you plan on doing with Domino Table Studios?
Man, Domino Table Studios, that's my baby. You know, I started this with my business partners and friends, Ray, Andy, and Brandon, and you know, unfortunately they couldn't keep going because of, you know, career, and obviously it's totally understandable, you know. And I think for me, Domino Table Studios is, I want to be able to create the content that I want to watch. For me, it's about, you know, I started this with the purpose of hearing people's stories, right? And through hearing people's stories, I've been exposed to so much like new ways of thinking, information, and that's ultimately like kind of like what I want to have in Domino Table Studios, is like very different and like very valuable information for people. And it could even be mindless entertainment, but it's like, it's the kind of thing, it's the kind of shows that I want to watch. I want it to be its own media company, that similar to a Barstool, right? I look at Barstool as a huge kind of I look at Barstool as like what this could potentially be in 10, 15, 20 years. And I think also it's about the people who are involved. I think creating those relationships with the people that, you know, either whether I have interviewed them, worked with them, I think those relationships last forever. And I think that's what it's about. It's about bringing people together and, you know, just connecting. I think the world needs that right now, and that's what I hope to bring.
50 years from now, when you're 73 and you're sitting on your porch with your grandchildren, what do you want the people to remember Domino Table Studios by?
Man, I want Domino Table Studios to be remembered by just like bringing people joy. I think is like the main reason I do what I do. You know, like it's like when people, you know, they message you, or they're like, hey, I thought this was super funny, or I showed this to my friend and we were having a laugh about it. Man, that's like the best compliment that I could receive, because ultimately it's about how people come together, and I want it to be remembered as like by the joy it gave people, because, you know, who knows how long I'll be doing this, I don't think, hopefully I'll be podcasting till I'm 60, but I don't know if that's the case. But I want to be remembered by that, like that joy that, that it brought people.
Okay. How about we talk about like what gives you motivation and stuff? Like, how about like maybe like a little bit more like personal? Like, what brings you like fulfillment? Like, I'm not gonna overshoot here, but I wouldn't say you're like depressed. I'd say you're like living through life. Yeah, you got stresses, but like, what fulfills you? Like, cause
I think what fulfills me is creating, right? So even in what I'm studying now to be my day job, because, this to me is fun. Hopefully, obviously, like I want it to be my main thing one day, but even in my career that I'm studying, is the main thing is creativity, right? And as long as I'm creating, I'm happy, because it means, I'm not one of those people that could live off of just like a desk job that's just like every day's the same, it's autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those people. I'm one of the people that, in a way, I want to romanticize my life, right? I've said this term before, but it's really about living the life you want to like picture your dream life, and then after that you're like, all right, what do I do in my dream life, and what can I do now? Because obviously some have limitations of money and all that, but it's like, what's the closest thing I can do to be living my dream life right now? And I think doing that daily, or as much as you can, whether it's going every morning and getting a coffee from the coffee shop, talking to the barista, hey, how you doing, whatever, building a relationship with that barista, getting some work done, alone, just, getting to some emails in the morning, like, but romanticizing your life, I think, is major, because it's like, it puts you in the right direction, and it, in a way, it's like, it fulfills you at checkpoints, right? So it's like, all right, in the future, this is the life I want to live. This is a taste of that. I still have to put the work in. I still have to, grind, but I know it's for this bigger cause. I know it's so in the future, my family will be taken care of. My kids won't have to worry about money. Like that's one of the, like, I know we talked about like biggest motivations. That's one of my biggest motivations, is so my children would never have to worry about money, because looking back at like how I grew up, my dad busted his ass, like, so that I wouldn't have to worry. Like, we weren't rich by any means, but we weren't poor. Like, and my parents busted their ass to make sure that we, like, if we needed $5, $10 to get something at lunch for, in school, they would give it, and it wouldn't be a problem. And they're one of my biggest motivations, and what will fulfill me is to make sure they're taken care of, to make sure my family in the future is taken care of. My brother, he's taken care of. Like, I want the people around me to live the life they want to live. And that's, I think, what fulfills me, aside from just creating. And I mean, let's be honest, like, it's just fun, like, this is, I get a kick out of this. This is like, if I could do this forever, I'm happy,
You mentioned creating. So there's a process of creation. There's the thought, right? So when you're brainstorming your idea, then there's a process of bringing that idea to life, and there's the final product. What's your favorite part, and why? The whole thing is necessary, but for me, like, just to give you an example so you can talk, it's like the process, bringing that to life while I'm working on it and watching it come to life. The final product is beautiful, but the process there is amazing. Some people like the brainstorm. So
yeah, I would say probably that, because you know what my favorite part actually is? It's seeing how far a project came, or something came, from the beginning. Because when you start off, it's never how you imagined it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can say, I want it to look like this, but along the lines, it didn't look like that in the beginning. You know, like reflecting after a project is done and seeing like, wow, this changed so much, and like it really like grew. I dug deeper when I thought I couldn't find anything else, and I came up with this. That's what like I love about creating, and also collaborating, right? So I'm big on collaborating. Like if I think getting second opinions, you know, not all the time you should like take them with a grain of salt is what I'm kind of saying, because you know, and there's another saying, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Like you should take creative criticism, because if it's someone who's actually trying to help you, I think you should take that in, and that's very important. And because sometimes you could be so deep into a project or that you're not seeing something, so it's good to get that objective like outlook on it. And I think that's like one of my favorite things about creating.
So UFC fighters call out. So how about this? What if you called out some of the interviews that you want to do next? Like I'm not talking about big interviews. I'm talking about
with the camera.
I'm talking about local. I'm talking about local people that you would like to interview that maybe you haven't interviewed yet that you want to, get on. Like, shoot your shot.
I don't know by name, because we already have some in the works. Like we already have some being scheduled. But if I could interview some local people, I'll give you this. I'll give you a type of person, right? I would love to interview. First of all, I would always like to interview comedians, because their outlook on life is very similar to the way I see things as an aspiring copywriter, which is like my profession, which is it's always insight, right? When you're making a campaign, for example, first thing you gotta do when you get a target audience is like, what's the insight? You know, like what's like a feeling that these people get. And I think comedians are like some of the people who capitalize on that the most. They can find something fucked up from a community and make it funny. And it's like a common like, or like not a fucked up thing from the community, but I think the best comics, for example, can give you something you're not supposed to laugh at and make you laugh at it, right? So something that's maybe like, let's say something you shouldn't be laughing at, they make you laugh at it, and it's because they got an insight and they worked on that, and they're like, there's funny in this, right? And that's what I've learned also from watching comedians like Andrew Schultz, Akash Singh, and they have a podcast called Flagrant 2, and it's pretty much that. It's like, hey, this is a wild topic, but there's something in this, right? It comes from a human feeling, and I think that's like, to answer your question, I think. Damn, I got like lost in a train of thought. What was the original question?
The original question was like, shoot your shot. Like some people that you want to interview, that you want to have on, and you know what? They don't have to be local, but let's say like people that you have reach within. That's why I said local though.
I would like,
anybody.
For sure, maybe like mental health professionals. I would love to interview someone in that space. Also, maybe like I enjoy talking with like business owners a lot. Like people who run their businesses, and especially in today's world where it's like so like social media heavy. I love picking their brains and seeing how they view it, because at the end of the day, you gotta think these are people too, right? Like they have their ups, their downs. They're human at the end of the day, but it's like, how do you overcome that when you have a specific goal? You get me? Like you have to get this done. I know I have the ups and downs of my life, but I have a bigger picture in mind, and I think entrepreneurs and people who are in the business world do that very well. Um, also health, like not just mental health, but also health professionals, because as a Hispanic kid, health is like one of the last things that's even talked about, or like I guess not that there's a stigma behind it, but it's like how many times as a Hispanic kid did you actually go to the doctor? Like it's like, and I'm trying to break that stigma in a way to like people like me that grew up like that. It's like, and you have nothing against doctors. It's just you never went, or like you never like. For example, you're supposed to have a checkup every year. I would skip like 3 years, 4 years between a checkup, and stuff like that. So I'm just the people who I'm interested in getting are just. It's tough to say, but people who I'm actually interested in talking to, like people who have a certain view of life that I'm interested in diving deeper with.
You mentioned growing up and watching your parents bust their ass off. Just give me kind of like, what do your parents mean to you? Like, what did they, yeah, like what do your parents, like how much of an impact do your parents have on you? I know, but
yeah, they're everything, man. They're my biggest motivation. They're my support system. Like every step along the way, they've given me guidance, and seeing them like the struggles in the beginning that they went through just trying to put food on the table for, our family, and how they really made something out of nothing. And I think that's what I take away from them at the end of the day. It's like, they've sacrificed so much, and that's everything to me, man. Like, think about leaving the situation we were in. My dad used to sell produce in a market in Cuba, and barely making enough. He would have to steal some just to feed us in like when we were living there. And obviously he was like, this enough is enough. I can't raise a kid like this. Like I'm not making any money. I'm like, and he was doing everything he could over there, but it wasn't enough. We found a way to come here to this country, and from the beginning he was studying. He worked in a hot tub factory, and he was just like it was work and work in school in the beginning, for a couple of years. And I was still young, so I can't say that I even noticed that much that he was gone in the beginning, but he was busting his ass. My mom also putting whatever job she could do. I spent a lot of time with my grandma because my grandma already had lived here in the beginning. So I never really felt like I was like neglected. I just knew they were like working. So I didn't know any different. I was just like, oh, they're just working. But then later on, obviously, like as they, my dad finished school and all that, and it was like, all right, all this was for a reason. All this was to be able to provide for a family. And they've just given me so much opportunity, man. They support me in everything I do. And I can honestly say, like, they're like my best friends. Like, I mean, my dad, but to those who don't know, like, we talk like if we were boys. Like, it's like, yeah, yeah, they're everything.
All right, now so I've known you for a very long time, and I can see the impact. So can you talk a little bit just about the impact that Mandy has had on your life, your girlfriend?
Yeah. She's had a huge role, right? So I would say one of the biggest impacts is, in a way, she showed me how to love a person, because I had come from a relationship prior to that lasted about a year. And it wasn't the best. It was toxic, but we were young. So I honestly, like, it sounds bad to say, but it is what it is. Like, especially at that age, like, you don't know. I know when you're 16, you're like, oh yeah, this is like the person, I'm gonna be with forever. Like, mom, you can't tell me shit, whatever. Like, I love this person. Like, yeah. But it's like, I wasn't even fully formed as a person yet, and I was also miserable in that relationship. So it's like, once I left, I took some time off to work on myself. And granted, this was still in high school, but I met her towards the end of high school, and we hung out that summer because of like friend groups, you know, just going out together. And you know, I remember I had asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said, "Not yet." And I was like, kind of taken aback. But I was like, "What do you mean, not yet?" But she's like, "I have." She was, I have to. It was so stupid at that time, but I honestly, like, looking back, I'm like, you know what? It worked out because it was an even better time. We got more time to just work on ourselves for that. She was like, oh, I need to get my license first or something like that. We were going into freshman year of college, and she's like, oh, I need to get my license. And I was like, that's such a whack excuse, like, whatever. But it really allowed us to grow even more, and just as friends. And then later on, it was like, hey, do you want to still try this? And of course, by that point, I had only like liked her even more. So, and then throughout, I've almost been with her. By the time this episode comes out, it might be our 5-year anniversary. Maybe on the 21st of October is our 5-year.
You better not mess that up.
Yeah, no, it's 5. Yeah, and bro, throughout this process, she's been everything, man. She's pushed me when I've felt like I'm like, damn, like when I needed it, she pushed me. When I needed to be heard, she heard. When I needed to just like, for example, we go on these walks, right? And it's mainly about like communicating, because like communication, I think, is everything in a relationship. And these are just our talks to kind of just like our walks to just kind of talk about everything from like how your day was. Like, it's like, what do you have going on this week? What can I kind of take the pressure off of? What can you, like, do I need a day off where she's like, hey, I just needed some time today, whatever. And she showed me how to love, how to be, you know, a great partner. She showed me how to be a great human for me. Right. So she sees me sometimes better than I see myself. And I think that's like the biggest thing. And that's what you should look for in a partner too, is like someone who like elevates you, as opposed to just like keeps you stagnant or like brings you down.
You're an older brother. Does that play a role? Like how, because you and your brother are separated by
6 years.
6
or
years.
5.5.
So
5.5 or 6 years.
I have an 11-year gap. I mean, that's way different. So like, kind of having your little brother under your wing, like, to me, it's the best thing in the world. But for you, you have a closer age gap. Like, how is that? How does that impact, you know, your daily, like? Because you are the role model. You're
subconsciously, I'm a role model. Even when I don't think I am, it's like he's subconsciously soaking in everything I do or say. Right? So I'm very careful about that. But I want to be the type of older brother that's like, you can say anything to, and it stays between us, and you know, it is what it is, and I'll help you with guiding you in what I think is the right direction. Ultimately, like as a man, you're gonna have to make choices for you. I can only tell you as someone who has your best interest at heart and will always be there for you no matter what. But it's like, you know, to me, it's a motivation to be better so that he sees what he can do.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just about, you know, being also being a friend that always has your best interest at heart. I think that's like pretty much it.
Let's close it on this. You get a time machine and you go see yourself right before you step into freshman year of high school. What do you tell young Elian Tellez about the future and how to prepare himself?
I would say,
or what's a piece of advice you would give your younger self for what's to come?
Assuming that nothing changes after I tell him that. I would say probably like just enjoy this time, right? Like don't get caught up too much on like who or what is in front of you in the moment. Just like enjoy like this time because it flies by and you never get it back. And it's like, I would say that just live without regrets, you know? Just also work. Like it's gonna suck to say, but it's like the faster you can get accustomed to like this is just what I gotta do, like setting goals and just working on them. I'd say that's like the one of the biggest things is like just get used to that of having that work ethic, because it's like no matter what you do, it's like there's a quote that's like going to school and studying is hard. Being broke and being hungry is hard. Choose your job. Choose your hard. So it's like no matter what in life, life is hard. But it's like what hard would you rather? Would you rather the hard that's like, damn, I need to study because I need to, so I can be successful and, leave a legacy, make sure my family's taken care of? Or the hard that's like, I don't know if I can eat today. I don't know if, where am I going to sleep? Like, life is hard, but choose your hard. Which one would you rather? And just the quicker we can get used to that, I think is like, that's one of the biggest pieces of advice besides enjoy the ride. Yeah.
That is your AMA, ladies and gentlemen.
Just want to thank you guys for watching, for listening. If you guys are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you guys are on iTunes or Spotify, listening on the road or listening while you work, make sure to rate and subscribe to make sure you guys get updated with any of the newest episodes. You guys can find more content on Align Tell 'em on Instagram. We have TikTok as well, so make sure you go to that. I'll post more like behind the scenes. I'm trying to get back on TikTok and be more of this content creator that I'm trying to become slowly. And let us know who you want on the show. Also, don't be afraid to give suggestions on who you think would be good on the show. And let's keep this community growing. Let's keep it fun. And thank you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.